Hi, welcome back to another episode on the Healthy Wisdom series for Dr. Jen Chen. Healthy Wisdomers, in the past week, have you been extra tired, a bit more irritable, maybe a little bit more sad, or more prone to crying? How about antsiness? Have you felt, constantly trying to want to stretch or move around a little more than usual? Have you had more vivid dreams, or perhaps some dream-disturbed sleep? Well, if you answered yes to any of the above symptoms, you, my friends, are experiencing early signs of spring. According to the Chinese lunar calendar year, spring actually arrived on February the 4th this year. Now, isn't that neat that for those of us who live in the Western world, spring isn't for another month and a half, right? So these symptoms mean something in, I guess, Chinese theory, but we would never think that that was associated to the coming of spring. Most of us would probably write these off as winter's hibernation mode, perhaps. I mean, that's what I did when I first kind of encountered these symptoms. And, my instructor got us thinking about it. And I was like, oh, you mean this is associated with the coming of spring? So one of the things that I found fascinating is that the body is actually very in tune to the different seasons. And much like how birds know to fly south for the wintertime from, Canada, for example, this is sort of how the body kind of prepares itself for whatever coming season. And it does that because it is in sync with the rest of Mother Nature. So now with the multitude of perspectives that I have, both from Eastern and Western medicine, I find that I am constantly looking at the world through a different lens, and I am diving deeper and deeper into how the body works and responds and reacts to the different things that we do in our daily lives and how that impacts our health. So in Chinese medicine, there are the 5 elements that they talk about, and it is wood, fire, which are the 2 that we're going to kind of talk about today very briefly, because we're not here to talk about elements, and maybe that could be for a future series, but it's association with each other. And the wood element gives rise to fire, right? Because we build fire from wood, and wood is associated with springtime. So the tie between last week's element, which is wood, that is associated with the organ, the liver, is now giving rise to the fire element, which is associated with the organ, the heart. And the heart is actually a symbol of joy. It is very often associated with the emotion of joy and happiness. Now, feelings have as much to do with the heart as they do the brain. It's a two-way relationship, much like a dialogue. So picture it like this. Our emotions changing signals the brain to send messages to the heart, which, because they depend and influence each other's functions, then responds to the brain in a very complex way. But it responds to the brain, which then sends signals and down to the pathways where then we have a behavioral change or a physiological change. So there are 2 ways of communication between the heart and the brain. One is a neurobiological pathway whereby the heart has hundreds of thousands of independent neurons that can then send massive amounts of signals to the brain. And from the biochemical perspective, it sends messages via hormones in the bloodstreams. Now, what is the function of the heart usually? The heart pumps blood, right? So it carries itself nutrients, the blood itself, the oxygen that needs to, provide all of that to the rest of the body and the organs. And therefore, the hormones travel to the brain via this blood supply, and it takes it to every single organ as well. So the heart then also acts like an endocrine gland Now, what's an endocrine gland? It's a structure that makes and releases a number of different types of hormones or neurotransmitters as well. And an example of these could be oxytocin, dopamine, any type of epinephrine. And as you can see, those are neurochemicals that you are going to see actually even in medication today, in painkillers and cold medicine, right? But that's why cold medicine can actually influence us by either calming us down or actually boosting our energy levels so that we can get through the rest of the day. So by use of these nerve impulses and hormones, these signals are sent to emotional centers deeper in the brain, where they get interpreted. And one of these centers happens to be the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is a pair of almond-shaped regions deep in the brain that are responsible for processing both positive emotions such as happiness and negative emotions such as fear and anxiety. But today we're going to be mainly focusing on the positive emotion that is associated with the heart, and that is happiness and joy. Now, the amygdala regulates emotions, and it's involved in tying emotions, emotional meaning per se, to memories and reward processing, as well as decision making. So once the brain has identified what kind of feeling they are recognizing, it can then respond and tell the body what to do. So for example, when we are experiencing positive feelings like joy, our heart rhythms actually become more consistent or more coherent in pattern, and the body releases happy hormones like dopamine and serotonin as a result. And this change of information from the heart to the brain is recognized as a good feeling. And therefore, the brain then responds back with an increased mental capacity, heightened self-confidence, as well as a warm, fuzzy feeling. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm in a state of joy and I'm confident and I have warm and fuzzy feelings, I think I'd be better able to recover quickly from any type of stress that I encounter, right? So this is the power of being in a joyful state of mind. And that is also what I feel the coherence pattern of a heart rhythm would bring about as an advantage to, dealing with all the daily stresses that we have to deal with, right? Now, what I find fascinating, and yet it often gets forgotten, is that the body is such a body of wisdom. It knows to continually work to let go and release of what the body no longer needs. And it knows to allow oneself to let go of any held emotions and experiences that no longer serve us. Yet most of us, we tend to hold on in spite of the body's, urging us to try to let go. So, in a sense, we are creating our own incoherence with our bodies. And I think this is what the purpose of this episode is about. It's to remind us that we have to be conscious of that inner struggle that we have, that we tend to want to hold on to certain things, hold on to certain emotions, hold on to certain past experiences. And this serves as a great reminder that perhaps it is better to go with the flow and let it go so that we can better support our organ systems and their functions to be able to go about our daily lives and deal with any incredulous amounts of stresses that might be coming our way. Picture the heart as the conductor of an orchestra, that it's coordinating all the organ's vibrations into a harmonious symphony. And when the body is in a beautiful state of balance, like emotions and weight are balanced, the digestion of our, digestive tract is smooth, and overall, we'll feel creative and energized and peaceful. And when we experience true joy and happiness, we're also in the reverse direction. We are nourishing our heart energy. So we feel mentally clear because we're able to process different experiences. But at the same time, when we are lacking joy in our lives, our heart does suffer and we can feel stuck and mentally very chaotic and also have difficulty sleeping. So in Chinese medicine, a lot of times when patients are encountering insomnia, quite often they will look at the heart and ask you questions and get a better understanding as to what is going on in other parts of your life in order for them to find out what truly could be causing that insomnia. Now, it may not just be the heart, but that is one of the starting points. Now, when we have mania or obsessive joy, though, this can indicate an excess of the heart energy that's being scattered around, and it's just being sort of not able to be contained in a balanced manner. And that can actually result in a severe mental disorder of the emotions. Because overly stimulated heart energy can also cause a lot of agitation and, as we've said, insomnia, but also palpitations, in the chest area. So in other words, even the pleasurable emotion can be out of balance if there's too much of it. Right? So one of the things that Chinese medicine and as well as chiropractic, we always emphasize is the balance, homeostasis, that state of balance in the body where you don't want too much of anything, even the good stuff, because it can throw you off track. So what I'd like to do is encourage you today to express your love. Give a hug to someone and you'll release oxytocin that allows you to feel happy and loved in return. So you're giving love and you're receiving love. How beautiful would that be to the start of the week? All right, Healthy Wisdomers, it's been a pleasure to share this knowledge with you today. Please take a minute to subscribe, follow, and rate this episode, and invite your friends to join us on this journey. Remember, yes, you can, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This is the Healthy Wisdom series with Dr. Jen Chen. I'll catch you guys on the next